G'day everyone and welcome to another episode of Paranormal and Cryptid Adventures. Today we're going deep down the rabbit hole. So if you're not into the weird and the unusual side of Bigfoot, Yowie research, then tune out now because this is going to go very deep and very weird. So hold on tight. This is going to be a very interesting video. So throughout human history, there's been instances and cases of people communicating with beings from other places, from other worlds, from other realities. You could call it paranormal, you could call it supernatural, you could call it something else. But bottom line, there is a definite history of us communicating with beings outside of this space and time. And today this video is going to go a little bit down the alley of the occult, of the super paranormal. We're talking trance channeling here. Now those that are familiar with my channel will know that I do Yowie communication videos where I use a friend of mine to get into an energetic communication, I guess you could say, with what we believe is a Yowie and to ask questions and to get responses. What I want to bring to you today is work done by someone else some time ago. It's been out there for 40 years, but not many people have really examined it from the perspective of Yowies, Bigfoot, Sasquatch. I went scanning through this information and there's some references to our buddies, the Bigfoots, the Yowies, the Sasquatch. And I want to bring you that information today with the hope to bring it out into the public eye again and start the conversation once more. Now let me tell you a little bit first about how this communication came to be. So this isn't my work. This is from a series that's known now as the Law of One books or the Law of One material. In a nutshell, it was a communication with a non-human multi-dimensional entity which referred to itself as Ra. Now Ra was not known as an individual. It was more a collective, almost a whole civilization of entities that had merged into one sixth density being. And this sixth density being is able to communicate when the conditions are right. And it was essentially one guy, and what this guy had done for, I think it was 20, maybe even 30 years, he had worked to try and perfect trance channeling. Trance channeling is when you get a person who has an ability to channel other beings, to get into these super deep states of relaxation or meditation or trance. And with the right setting, the right intention, and the right guide, these people are able to connect with other beings out there somewhere. So this particular trance channeling was super rigid and almost scientific in its approach. The position of the channel of the person, her name was Carla Ruker, the position of her body, her mental state, her physical state, her emotional state, her belief systems, everything was taken into account and accounted for. It wasn't just a random, I'm going to sit in a room and pretend to channel someone, as you often see happen. This was a very rigid, very scientific approach. The channeling sessions, which make up the Law of One, are considered to be probably the most significant and advanced communication sessions that anyone has ever documented in human history. If this kind of thing is of interest to you, I fully recommend checking out the Law of One material. You can get the books for free. No one needs to make any money from it. If you want to get the real books, then buy them. But you can download PDFs and read them. And I've read them a couple times throughout my life. They're super interesting. But what I want to draw attention to today is some of the passages that related to Bigfoot. Now, these sessions took the form of questions given through the channel to the being Ra, and Ra giving answers. Now, the way that Ra would speak would be, it's English, but it's a super almost advanced and there's layers of meaning in everything that he said. It's not just black and white, it's rainbows, you know. There's so much going on in there that you've got to take the statement and then try and analyze it from the lens of understanding how this being would speak. And thankfully, having read the books, all 5 of them, about 2.5 times, I feel like I'm in a position to try and understand what is being said. But there was 3 separate sessions where Bigfoot specifically were questioned about and answers were given. Now this information, some of it will jive with other information that we've heard throughout history. Some of it is a very different take. So different that it doesn't necessarily endear itself initially. It's one of those things where you got to step back and actually think about it, because this is not taking any agendas into account. This is not taking any of our beliefs into account. This is just, as much as a trance channeling session can be to the point, this is just to the point. This is the words, the thoughts, the communication, not of the channel who was lying down regurgitating the communication. This is the words of a sixth density entity named Ra, which, again, I said this was going to be a weird one today, which is basically an extremely spiritually advanced and evolved beings. In Ra's words, millions of years ahead of humanity. So the information came about through basically 3 questions. And I'm going to run through what was asked and what was said. So what was said is what I'm going to present to you today. Now, before I get straight into it, a little bit of meta language. A physical form, our physical form is of the 3rd density. Animals would be of the 2nd density. Rocks, the earth, mountains, etc. would be the 1st density. So you need to understand that. So I don't want to cut and paste any material on the screen. I'm kind of even avoiding being too explicitly exact, because I don't want to get done for copyright. I don't want to take money out of the author's mouths from these books. So if you want to read up on the specific wordings, you can Google it, or you can go download the free PDFs. You know what? I'll put the link for the free PDFs in my description. Why not? Why not send some traffic their way? Okay, now the first thing that was said about Bigfoot within these communication sessions. Bigfoot, Yowie, Sasquatch must be soul complexes, much like us, who take the 2nd density form. 2nd density form being animals, but they have a soul complex. They have a soul like us within an animal's body. Now that could mean many things. That could mean that every animal has a soul like us, which, you know, I don't find too far-fetched personally. But what is basically being said here is that the Yowie is more animal than man, but that its soul, that its intelligence, that its mind, that its emotions, that its wisdom is on par with us. So that's one thing. Animalistic human, I guess you could say, is one way to describe what's being said there. Animalistic human. Human on a soul level, animalistic on a physical level. But in saying that, it's very important that we focus on the word soul complex, because that really implies a more, you can hear that siren going at the moment. I'm in a little local bushland scrub area, so you might hear some sounds of civilization out and about. I'm not deep anywhere today. So that soul complex actually does suggest that there is a level of advancement within the soul of these beings, that therefore they're not just animals. And if you believe in the theory of biocentrism, that basically states that consciousness, I hate that word, can never say it, is the driver for physical evolution and physical change. So if you have an advanced soul, then your physical vehicle is going to change and respond to the actions and the circumstances surrounding that soul, that consciousness. So to be a soul complex within an animal's form, to me would suggest that that form can and will evolve, and that could explain the look of the Bigfoot, Yowie, Sasquatch. That it's animalistic, yet it's human. I'll let that one settle. Let's go to the next little segment of information. Okay, so the next little snippet is that there are 3 types of these beings existent on our planet. One type, the first type, is from a planet called Maldek. Now, those of you who are familiar with my communication sessions will know that I actually asked our Yowie Najikam about this planet. I have to go back through the files and watch it to find out what was said. From a planet, and this is the reason why, because of the law of one. So they are from a planet called Maldek. And the reason they are on Earth is to work through their karmic restitutions. In other words, okay, let me explain something about the law of one. The law of one is basically a belief system, which one of the main tenets of it, it's not like a religion or anything, it describes a system of cosmology, a system of existence, a system of reincarnation and creation. So within that system that it describes, one of the things that happens is, much like the Buddhist concept of karma, each being, each soul complex accrues karma throughout each life journey, and they have to work that off, and each bit of karma has to be worked off. Sometimes it is worked off in more of an afterlife, and I mean that very loosely, kind of setting, and other times these beings can be sent to other places to work off their karmic imbalance. To be, they may have done something wrong or done something right, and they've come here to help, or they've come here to struggle or suffer, or whatever the case may be for the individual. See, the idea here of the first type, they are beings from Maldek who died when that planet was destroyed. And we can loosely read into it to believe that our current asteroid belt that exists within our solar system is the remnants of Maldek. There's a lot of ancient wisdom to discuss this, but again, that's another whole rabbit hole you can go down on your own. But these guys all died on that planet, and that they've been sent here, their souls have been sent here, put into second density forms to work off their karma as the form of a type of Bigfoot, Yowie, Sasquatch. So this could explain why some of these guys will not attack and are not aggressive. I personally don't believe these are aggressive beings. I've said that many times before. I believe they will move you on, and they will freak you out, and they will do what they've got to do to get you out of certain areas. And of course, you're going to have a bad day or a bad dude who might actually try and hurt a human, but I don't believe at their core they're bad beings. And I believe that is because they're here to work off a karmic debt. The karmic debt that they built up on their previous planet. Perhaps they were to blame for the demise of their previous planet. I don't know, right? This is just spitballing. But they've been sent here purely to work off their karmic debt. Now, this type is actually the type that is known to live in underground passageways, in caverns, in caves, which syncs very nicely with a lot of Bigfoot, Yowie, Sasquatch research that's out there today. I believe that too. I think these guys they like to dwell underground a lot. But this particular type, they're less able to sense and avoid humans. So this is very interesting. We're going to get two different types that approach humanity very differently. According to the law of one, this type of being is less naturally aware of humans. So I believe this would be the type of being that we get video footage of. The ones that seem to be less aware. So they live in the underground passageways. We might only catch them when they come out. Now note, none of the stuff I'm going to present to you says anything about interdimensional abilities. Okay, I personally believe that Yowies, Bigfoot, Sasquatch are interdimensional in nature and can phase in and out of our reality. They can be third dimensional like us, and they can go into another reality. Energy being type stuff. If you're not familiar with that, go watch my other Yowie communication videos. It's all described there. So that's the first type. Karmic debt being paid off in this reality, in this density, in this dimension, on this planet, and that they live underground mainly and less able to avoid human detection. Now, on to the second type. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because so far it's been quite in the ballpark of things we're comfortable with. But this one's very different. This second type are the type, now, according to the law of one, the reason that this type are even on this planet is as an almost genetic backup for humanity. In case of a nuclear war or destruction of this species, humanity is a protected species in that there is something very special about humans, and we're not the only humans that exist. There's humans in other places of the universe. They're a very common form according to the law of one. And that we are here that they are here as a form of genetic backup. In case we blow each other apart, these things can rise above the radiation. These things can rise above what we may do to ourselves, and they are able to slot in, basically rebuild our genetic pool. They exist here as second density forms again, so more animalistic in nature. And as I say, they are literally here as a genetic backup. Now, as I said, these guys are able to avoid radiation and mitigate the effects of radiation. It is literally as if they've been put here as human 2.0 should we destroy ourselves. Now, these guys are known to live deep within the dark forest reaches of Earth. So these are the forest dwelling types. And these are the ones that will avoid human detection like an absolute master. They're super intelligent. They're aware of technology because of their previous existences. And they know how to avoid it. Remember, this is not my words. This is from the Law of One material. They are also the ones that will have the glowing eyes. So if you see a Bigfoot, Yowie, Sasquatch, and you see it at night, and you see those red, sometimes yellow, not eye shine, but glowing eyes, these are the guys we're talking about. So these guys are literally, I'll say it again, according to the Law of One, these guys are literally here to be a backup. Stay out of harm's way, stay in the background, survive, do your thing, avoid humans. If the humans destroy themselves, they can step up and either breed with the remaining humans because there is enough human DNA within them, or they can just take over, I guess. It doesn't specify exactly on that front. So that is the second type. So far we've discussed nothing that's too out of place, right? We've got the ones that live in the underground layers, caverns, passageways, whatever. Right, not as able to avoid human detection. We've got the ones that are here as a genetic backup, a genetic pool within which humanity can be reborn if it destroys itself. They live deep, deep forests. They have the red glowing eyes. They are able to avoid detection and can withstand radiation. These are the guys I believe we see more personally, at least in Australia perhaps, because that kind of description syncs more with what we might see on the fringes of forest. These are the kind of guys that I believe that I am in communication with, and I believe that I'm getting indications and signs of, personally. Because I'm always on the edge of the forest, between where the deep forest starts and humanity starts. I'm always on that border. I don't go too deep, I don't go too shallow. So I believe these are the ones that make no noise when they move around. These are the ones that you really struggle to get footage of. I think these are the ones that we have here. I believe that maybe the underground dwelling ones, I believe they could be more in the States. And that is why you get more videos from, the northern parts of the world. North America, Russia, you get a lot of videos from these areas. And I believe that maybe the ones more there, so possibly more the Sasquatch types. But there is a third one, and this is super interesting, and it involves another piece of meta language. Simply put, there is a third variety, and they exist as a thought form. Thought form is a term that during the communication sessions Ra never really expanded upon. It's been left to us to work out what the hell is a thought form. But if you look at the words, it would seem to suggest that this third type is a form that has come about or manifested from groupthink, from group human consciousness. I can't say that word. So if you have two forms that are legit, yeah, and humans have seen them throughout eons, throughout times, but they've been fleeting. What if humanity, and we're not aware of this, are able to subconsciously, unknowingly create forms that exist purely from our collective consciousness manifesting it to be? There's many, many ancient tales, traditional, customary stories that exist from many indigenous populations around the world about beings that have been manifested from our human consciousness. There is coincidentally three main types of these beings: Bigfoot, Yowie, Sasquatch. So what if Yowie is the one that exists deep within the forest? What if Sasquatch is the one that lives, more in the northern parts of the planet, maybe likes the underground areas and is less able to avoid detection, and that is why there's so much more footage of it than there is of, say, an Australian Yowie? And what if the actual Bigfoot, and this is very speculative because I'm trying to fit round pegs into square holes, but is it possible that the Bigfoot is the thought form? The one that came to be because we have subconsciously seen it, the Patterson Gimlin footage, etc., etc. It seeps into our being, and we subconsciously create these beings from our energy. Remember, everything is energy. Nothing is anything more than energy. So if everything is energy, energy can be created. Cannot be destroyed, can be created. So I mean, it's really, really interesting to talk about these concepts, because we don't come across this much in run-of-the-mill, everyday Yowie, Bigfoot, Sasquatch research. It's not something that is regularly discussed or regularly even known about. This, backup for the human gene pool, so on and so forth. Now, I want to draw your attention to another thought, though. I can't find this piece. It's buried deep within the Law of One material somewhere, and I've tried digging it out. I can't dig it out. But there was something written that humanity will discover that these beings, Yowie, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, are real, and they'll discover it through finding bone fragments within caves. And for many, many years, we will misidentify and not understand what we're actually looking at, until one day the pieces will come together and we'll realize it. Now, there is a few discoveries that are anomalous that we've labeled a certain way, the Denisovans. They're basically, what is it, a finger bone? DNA from a finger bone found in a cave. They would live with Neanderthal and possibly interbreed with Neanderthal. You've got Australopithecus, you've got Gigantopithecus. We have a lot of DNA evidence of beings that have existed on this planet and seemingly don't exist anymore. What if one of these findings are one of these three types of beings? A Bigfoot, Yowie, Sasquatch. It's not impossible that we do have evidence for Bigfoot, Yowie, Sasquatch right now, but we're calling it something else because we don't truly understand the nature of what these beings are. We think they're a Denisovan, we think they're an Australopithecus, we think it's a Gigantopithecus, but we've misidentified it, we've mislabeled it. I don't know what it's going to take for us to correct that, but that's just something to think about. Because again, we're deep down the hole today, deep in the rabbit hole, and you're only listening to this if you're happy going deep. So if you're happy going deep, then these kind of thoughts, they won't scare you, they won't shock you. So look, it's something to think about. I really like the research from the Law of One. Of everything I've ever read, everything I've ever heard, I don't think I've come across a more attempted to be scientific method in regards to the actual channeling itself. And then the information just comes across as so credible. I strongly would recommend, if you're watching this video, you would probably love the Law of One stuff. Go to the description, go to the link in the description, have a click, have a read. You either love it or you hate it. Can't hurt. It's definitely not going to hurt. So let me know what you guys think about these three descriptions again to recategorize. Beings sent here from another planet, sent here from Maldek after the destruction of Maldek. Their souls sent into more animalistic forms on this planet. They can avoid human detection pretty badly, and they live in the underground passageways of the earth. The second type, beings that, and that they are working off karmic debt, karmic restitutions. The second type, the beings that exist in the deep forests, the beings that are here as a genetic backup, a genetic pool with which to extract and rebirth humanity should we destroy ourselves. Now maybe you need another being to come down and tinker with a few things. That's a whole other rabbit hole in itself. But they will provide DNA and genetic material to rebirth humanity should need be. They can avoid radiation, they can avoid humans, they understand technology, they have red glowing eyes. Or the third form, the thought form, that humanity has subconsciously and unknowingly birthed from the energy that we put out. We manifest our reality through our energetic patterns, thoughts, processes, etc. I mean, that's a Buddhist 101. That's not even rabbit hole stuff. That's science almost these days. We are energy. We are energy, condensed into matter. The other thing that the Law of One suggests is that everything that exists is one being. Just wanted to throw that last little bit out there. Please put in the comments what you think. This is something a little bit left field for me. I've been meaning to do this video for a long time, and I hope you guys enjoy it. If you like this and you think it's something of value, share it. Please share the video around, because I don't see many people talking about this in the Bigfoot research community, the Yowie, the Sasquatch. I don't see many people talking about this, and I've always thought it's an opportunity to reopen this book, literally, and re-examine this kind of stuff. Because one thing I know, our reality is not what we think it is, and the deeper you dive, the weirder it gets. The more truth you hear, the stranger it becomes. And I think that's a perfect way to end this video. So if you made it this far, drop me a like. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Go check out some other videos in my rabbit hole series. There's a whole playlist here. Click it, watch it. It's all this kind of stuff. It's good stuff too. There's some quality stuff in there. So drop a comment, start a conversation, talk to your friends and family and let them know how crazy they think you are. Anyway, thanks for watching again. I hope you got something out of this one. And until next time, it's bye from me. Take it easy, guys.